I think to be a leader, you have to stay true to what you are and just don't be somebody else. That's the biggest thing. I think there's a common confusion that you have to be a personality type. You need to be a type personality to become a leader or a B type personality to be a leader. No. And to be very honest, my thoughts have radically changed about Shark Tank. This is not the right representation of how the startup, this is not how fundraising works, first of all.
आपका क्या टेक है इस पे कि कॉलेज जाना चाहिए, डिग्रीज इंपॉर्टेंट है, ड्रॉप आउट मतलब रैंडम खाना, वेयर डू यू स्टैंड ऑन दिस?
What people don't really realize is that a lot of 20-year-olds want to go to college because it's a great place to start dating.
Calm down before you stress up the groove. The energy a little different when the blessings accrue. Hey, who you talking to? Just know I ain't no regular fool. Could be anything in the world, but I can never be you because I stand tall like I'm on my.
Hey guys, this is Ayush and I'm back again with another episode of the CNTC show. आपने कभी ना कभी एक स्टार्टअप करने का तो सोचा होगा, कभी ना कभी एक सोचा होगा कि मैं एक 100 करोड़ की कंपनी बनाऊंगा. ये इंसान वो कर चुका है और उसको बहुत ही तेजी से आगे लेकर जा रहा है. Rathin, a very good friend of mine, runs this company called Spenny, which is a fintech startup which is worth close to 100 crores. What does it take to build a company of that scale? अगर आप अपने कॉलेज में हो या फिर स्टार्टअप करना चाहते हो, स्टार्टअप कर रहे हो, दिस पॉडकास्ट इज अ जेम फॉर यू. एंड इसके अलावा हमने एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन आंसर करा कि वेदर यू शुड बी ड्रॉपिंग आउट ऑफ कॉलेज इफ यू वांट टू स्टार्ट अप इन कॉलेज. इस क्वेश्चन का जो आंसर मिला, इट ब्लू माई माइंड बिकॉज आई डेंट इवन नो कि इस तरीके की भी चीज़ें होती हैं व्हेन यू एक्चुअली ड्रॉप आउट. बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग एपिसोड है. आई होप यू लाइक दिस वन एंड इफ यू डू हिट द लाइक बटन एंड सब्सक्राइब टू आवर चैनल. नाउ ऑन टू द एपिसोड. हेलो रतिन, वेलकम टू द CNTC शो. फाइनली फर्स्ट हमारा घर में हम एक एपिसोड रिकॉर्ड कर रहे हैं.
सही है.
मतलब ये अगर किसी ने जुगाड़ देख लिया ना ये बिहाइंड द सीन्स का तो मजा आएगा. मतलब इट्स इंटरेस्टिंग. फाइनली बैक टू बैंगलोर. और पता है बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ें हो रही हैं मेरे साथ जब से मैं बैंगलोर में आऊँ. मैं कल जिम में था. जिम में कोई रैंडम बंदा, कल्पेश करके बंदा है, वेरी स्वीट गाय, ही टीचर्स मी थिंग्स कि ऐसे कर ले ऐसे कर ले. कहते हैं एक और बित्सिन से मिलवाता हूँ तुझे. दैट बित्सिन इज परीक्षित. ही इज अगेन रनिंग अनदर कंपनी कॉल्ड कोविया. उसने मुझसे मिलवाया. देन मैं उससे मिला. फिर मैं उसके थ्रू एक और बंदे को जानता था जो एक और बंदे को जानता था. एंड आई एम लाइक व्हाट इज दिस हैपनिंग. एंड दैट वाज द कोर रीजन व्हाई आई केम टू बैंगलोर कि यही करना है. आप कहीं पे भी घुस जाओ, आपको कोई ना कोई जान पहचान को मिल जाएंगे. एंड दैट्स हाउ नेटवर्क ग्रोज एंड जस्ट स्टेइंग इन द इकोसिस्टम. एंड दिस इज आई थिंक द फर्स्ट फ्रूट ऑफ दैट इकोसिस्टम कि आई कैन फाइनली, जो मैं पॉडकास्ट अपने जूम पे करता था वो इन पर्सन हो रहे. क्योंकि यार इन पर्सन बात का अलग ही मजा. यू कांट बीट दैट एवर. तो शुरू करते हैं यार. मुझे एक बार एक इंट्रो देते हैं कि हु इज रतिन, व्हाट इज स्पेनी, व्हाट आर यू डूइंग, क्या चल रहा है अभी.
Yeah, before we start though, I must say कि CNBC हो या CNTC हो, पॉडकास्ट के जो जुगाड़ और ये जो सेटअप है, I think it's the same level. काफी crazy setup है. If someone were to actually look at this outside of the camera, तो सही है. Kudos to that being like setting this up. Awesome. तो हाँ, तो यार if I were to like just describe myself, I'm basically someone who is pursuing Spenny. Spenny is a fintech startup, and I'll come to Spenny in a bit. Graduated out of Bits Pilani and that's been a guiding force and a rock for in all of our lives actually for a long time. And post that I've always wanted to do not really entrepreneurship but something different. ये तो था ही कि हाँ कुछ अलग करना है. But I think ये सबका ये होता है कि हाँ कुछ तो अलग करेंगे etc. The fight was कि अच्छा क्या करना है और कैसे figure out होगा. That was the thing. Eventually, and we'll get into the stories how this happened and all that. But eventually started like startups were my area is what I realized. And for better or for worse, pursuing a startup and which is a fintech startup in India. It's called Spenny. Spenny basically helps you invest your money. We'll get into the story of all the startups and all of that as well. But yeah, in short, that's the.
आपको याद है हम 2017 में मिले सबसे पहले. दैट टाइम यू वर रनिंग रिकोप्रो एंड आई वाज सो इन बहुत दैट पार्ट इज वेरी पिवटल फॉर मी बिकॉज सो थ्रू आउट माई लाइफ आई यूज्ड टू बी अ वेरी शाय किड. मैं ऐसे एकदम मेरी इतना ज़्यादा स्टेज फियर था मुझे. मतलब ये तो बहुत दूर की बात है कि मैं कैमरा के सामने बैठ के बात.
I can't imagine you having stage fear.
मतलब
I don't know.
And I had immense stage fear कि मैं तो बात कर ही नहीं सकता. और not just stage fear, I couldn't have conversations. मतलब मेरी फटती थी कि just to initiate a conversation. And स्कूल में I got this opportunity in class 11 to finally do it. And I मैंने खत्म कर दिया अपना stage fear. After that I became very confident कि अब तो मैं जा सकता हूँ stage पे. And then 3 years later, Conquest came in, and they were like, "अरे हाँ, we see that you like to do this, तो तुम ही कर लो host." So if you remember, I was hosting.
You were hosting.
That year's
I
Conquest.
remember you were wearing a blue blazer and.
Yes. अच्छा, for context, so for people who don't know this, Conquest is a startup conclave that is organized by Bits Pilani. Do Google this. It's one of the largest in the country.
In the country.
And it's a great program if you're a young entrepreneur and who's just starting out. Just do Google this. And जब मैं वो कर रहा था ना, पहले 15 मिनट आई वाज सो नर्वस, किसी को पता ही नहीं था, एंड आई वाज मेकिंग सो मेनी मिस्टेक्स, और मुझे उस दिन रियलाइज हुआ कि कोई कुछ नहीं सुनता. मैं स्टेज पे हूँ और मैं गलतियाँ पे गलतियाँ कर रहा हूँ, किसी को फर्क ही नहीं पड़ रहा है. सो मतलब इतने सारे फाउंडर्स बैठे थे वहाँ पे, VCs बैठे थे, किसी को फर्क ही नहीं पड़ रहा था कि मैं इतनी गलतियाँ कर रहा हूँ. मैं वहाँ जाके मैं लिटरली कुछ भी बोला था. आई वाज random filler words I was speaking because I was so nervous. I was like, shit, I thought I could do this. But somehow the fact that I could make mistakes and still holistically do well, that was बहुत ही incredible confidence. So like for me that Conquest was in a very weird way, very pivotal in my life कि यार मतलब मुझे एक अलग तरीके का confidence मिला कि बॉस गलतियाँ भी करोगे ना लाइफ में फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता, मतलब इवेंचुअली हो जाता है सब ठीक. को इतना ध्यान नहीं देता कि तुम कितनी गलती कर रहे हो, क्या कर रहे हो. And that time you're running Recopro. What happened to that company? क्या कर रहे थे आप Recopro में?
I mean, I know it's too early to be getting philosophical already in the podcast. लेकिन what you mentioned is so true for life also in general ना, कि मतलब ठीक है तुम गलतियाँ कर रहे हो, नहीं किसी को फर्क पड़ रहा. Like keep doing what you're doing. Like just try, start, whether it's a startup, whether it's a podcast, whether it's hosting. एक बार चालू कर दिया ठीक है, and you know for sure that you're going to make mistakes. लेकिन लोग नहीं सुन रहे वैसे भी, तो chill, it's fine. Nobody cares or looks at you as much as, like, nobody takes you as seriously as you do, and therefore you also should not take yourself as seriously is what I think, because that's how you get started na eventually.
Correct.
So but yeah, you're coming back to your question कि Recopro, यार उस टाइम पे I had just left JP Morgan का job. That was so I used to work for context, I used to work as an investment banking analyst in JP Morgan. And I left my job in 2017, around say Feb-March में. And then I started Recopro. Although Recopro was something that I started back in college itself with a couple of my friends. So वो वहीं से शुरू तो हो गया था. लेकिन वो कभी क्या बोलते हैं, never took it to fruition. It was just basically a product level stage. We never converted that into a full-fledged business while in college. And eventually जब post JP Morgan, when got this opportunity to sort of pursue this full time, grabbed that with both hands, started working on it, not realizing that this is not how you run a startup, this is not how you run a business, मतलब कुछ head और tail ही नहीं था. बहुत ही अलग kind of viewpoint था of running a company. But as you said, who cares? Like, yes, I mean, it's your mistakes, your life, your this thing. If you'll never try, you'll never know. So bas started Recopro like that. The idea was, it was basically a hardware product where the idea was that you cut down, like people cut a lot of trees for logistic based products, for making wooden sort of wooden pallets or wooden crates, etc., wooden packaging material. The idea was if you can replace the wooden packaging with recyclable paper packaging, which is made from waste paper, so we'll be able to save a few trees. And that was the basic concept, and that's how we started. So that with that product in mind came to Conquest, pitched there. And I mean, turned out to be great. You were hosting, I think you were the lucky charm at that time. कि वो सही हुआ. But so ran that for almost 2 years, but then eventually had to sort of wind that down for a variety of reasons, and we'll come to that in a bit when we.
You sold the startup.
Yeah. So essentially, it was basically like कि जो machinery and जो land and all that, product, machinery, labor, etc. के साथ पूरा का पूरा got sort of acquired by a packaging company itself. Although didn't really make any money out of this. Like basically वो था कि जितना मतलब basically जितने का value था वो तो break even होके बस that's pretty much about it. But wasn't really wasn't really like a big
like जैसे हम कुणाल छड़ा को बात कर 400 मिलियन में बिक गया, चिल हो गया लाइफ एकदम. Pretty cool. यार मैंने आपसे कभी पूछा ही नहीं ये बात, और जब बेसिकली आपको याद है मैं आज से 1 साल पहले बोल रहा था कि यार मैं अभी तो सर्विस कंपनी चला रहा हूँ बट लाइफ में प्रोडक्ट बनाना है कभी, मतलब क्योंकि वो चुल तो है ही ना, वो इन्फिनिट स्केल की, मतलब बस वो होता जाए स्केल. बट वो अभी हो नहीं पा रहा फॉर मल्टीपल रीजंस, एंड आई टॉक्ड अबाउट दिस विद द ऑडियंस कि लाइफ में कभी तो प्रोडक्ट करना ही है. मुझे ये जानना है कि यार आपने जो प्रोडक्ट शुरू करा तो वो YC वाला जो फेस था, दैट पार्ट रियली इंटरेस्ट मी, राइट? मतलब YC एक ऐसा बैज है जो कि स्टार्टअप कम्युनिटी में इट्स वेरी वेल रिगार्डेड. कैसे वो प्रोसेस क्या था YC में घुसने का? और मुझे कुछ नहीं पता, मतलब आई नो वेरी लिटिल अबाउट द प्रोसेस. द ओनली YC नॉलेज आई हैव इज आई वॉच अ लॉट ऑफ द यूट्यूब वीडियोस, राइट? बट हाउ डू यू गेट इनटू Y-Combinator? है क्या Y-Combinator? एक बार इंट्रोड्यूस भी कर देंगे. आपकी जर्नी कैसी थी, मतलब गेटिंग इनटू दैट?
Got it. Yeah. So I'll break this down into a couple of parts. First is what is YC and how does it help. Second is how do you get into YC. And third is like a crazy story which I'd like to share as to how our thing and on how we got in.
Oh, should I know the? Okay, take it, go for it.
So let me first introduce Y-Combinator to those who don't know. It's basically a startup accelerator. It's a fancy word to say कि वो एक investor है. जो आपकी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करेगा, फिक्स्ड अमाउंट इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, which is generally for during our time it was $150,000, which is around 1.1 crore rupees. Now I think it's somewhere around $125,000 or something of that sort, for a fixed 7% of the company. तो ये सब fixed terms होती हैं, and they invest in your company. Now what's special about YC is that they are one of those investors जो they're very well renowned, and a lot of great companies have come out of YC, and therefore the network that the YC founders have is immense. Whenever it's kind of it's similar to getting like a badge of honor or something of the sort, where why do people want to go into IITs or Harvard Business School or something of that sort? For the network, for the people, etc. It's something similar. That investors तो बहुत सारे हैं, लेकिन YC being an investor is a great badge of honor for any startup. The hit ratio, for example, is 10% in HBS. Harvard Business School में around 10% of the people get admitted. For YC, that hit ratio is around 2%. So you can like understand how competitive it is. It is 5 times more competitive than HBS. So that is why getting into YC is that much more complex. So that's about Y-Combinator. How it helps as a startup is that they help you focus extremely on your product and your business, etc. YC का एक ही मंत्र है कि starting के 2 महीने में either you talk to users or you code, as in build the product. And if you're not building the product, you talk to the users. If you're not talking to the users, then build the product. That's it. Everything else is fugazi. Don't focus on anything else except this two. That's their core message, and they really help you sort of focus on that. So that's the first part. The second part is essentially they help you fundraise, which is in the latter half of the program. They help you prepare for the fundraising process. How do you come up with a pitch, how do you create a model, how do you pitch to investors, refining your own pitch, etc. तो वो सब चीज़ में बहुत help करते हैं. So that's about how YC helps.
How YC helps.
Getting into YC is again just like any other, like pitching to any other investor. Obviously, you need extreme clarity of thought on your business. For sure, you need to know stuff about your business, etc. They in particular, YC is a very unique way of selecting, which is that they have 10-minute interviews. उनके YC interviews are only 10 minutes, by the way.
Only 10 minutes?
Yes. And trust me, 10 minutes feels like a lifetime when you are in a YC interview, because they ask you, it's a complete rapid fire session, and they really want you to know your business and the matrix like on the back of your hand. So they will ask you specific questions which you have to sort of, the idea is to answer in 15 seconds or less. Okay, what's your company about? Tell me in simplest way possible in 15 seconds. What's your current progress? Tell me about it. What's your team like? Industry numbers, how do you differentiate, matrix, all of these things. Every question, try and wrap it up in like 15 seconds or so. That's the whole idea. And they will keep asking you question after question after question for like 10 minutes. And then the interview is over without like in a blink of an eye. So that's how the interviews are. So you really have to prep well, as in you really have to know what exactly is your business about, etc., etc. You have to be very clear about it, because for me to tell you the answer in 15 seconds, I need to be very clear about it basically. So that's about the YC interview. And for us, it is crazy because we just started apna Spenny, and Spenny had been about 2 or 3 months old when we applied. We decided to apply to YC because why not?
Why not?
And when we applied, just the process of filling the YC form was so helpful to us, because it asks you deep questions. It asks you to sort of dig deep inside to find out your actual like the reason why you're doing this business, who exactly are your users, उनका क्या pain point है जो तुम solve कर रहे हो, be very clear about all of these things. So it was great. So we filled this, and it was crazy because the YC deadline, the form ka deadline was next day, and the previous night we started writing it down. We started filling the form, and so we didn't have too much time. So I wrote this thing application out overnight. Gaurav meanwhile was busy building the product overnight. Gaurav is my co-founder, brilliant engineering guy, and probably one of the best people to have on board on this journey. And then we had to also do a video shoot, and I remember him having worked the whole night. Poor guy, he had just slept at like 6 a.m. in the morning or so, and at 7 a.m. I'm waking up कि भाई सुन उठ जा जल्दी, अपने को वीडियो भी शूट करना है YC के लिए. And like in a groggy state we shot the YC का video and we sent it, and fortunately though we got a call for the interview. And we were in Singapore at that time, so we had to fly down to India for the interview. Interview was at Misho's office only. So काफ़ी interesting था, interview हुआ and all that, and we didn't know if we'll get in or not, but we did get in, so that was great. The crazy part, however, was that getting into YC was still okay, but हमें US visa नहीं मिल रहा था. We got rejected for a US visa, and so this was the interesting part. So we basically in Singapore, Gaurav and I both applied for our US visas, and US visa got rejected. Now the thing was कि हमारा program चालू होने वाला था, like it was going to start in January, 3rd January or so, and this is last week of December already, and we don't even have a visa. And we all almost lost all hopes and all that कि यार ये कैसे होगा, didn't know etc. But we were still trying, हाथ पैर मार रहे थे. We were trying to write to the consulate, we were trying to sort of get in touch with the US sort of this thing representatives etc. Wasn't really helping. Just out of a whim and fancy, I'd seen that there was a US India startup initiative started by Narendra Modi back in 2014 or 15 whenever. And Shraddha Sharma was one of the people on the advisory team or the sort of the organizing team then.
Correct.
And so मुझे लगा कि I don't know why this felt कि maybe let's give it a shot कि एक बार उनको
email करते
हैं. Problem is I didn't know her email. So I just tried every possible permutation and combination of it, like shraddhasharma@yourstory.com, shraddha@yourstory.com, sharma@yourstory.com, etc. One of them hit, fortunately. And I just sent itna sa email, selected by YC, rejected by US visa. And in the body, I just had written, please help us. That's it, nothing else. And it was kind of desperate, and at that time I wasn't really expecting a reply. Fortunately though, she replied back to me in 2 hours, and she tagged a team member, and this is late at night by the way, this is 1 in the morning or something. She replied back and tagging a team member saying that, hey, she'll look into this. She tagged somebody else, and this person will look into this tomorrow morning. I said, cool. And then there was radio silence for the next 3-4 days. And then I get a call the next day, like after 4 days, from the US consulate, from a person saying that, hey, you have a visa appointment in India, Mumbai, tomorrow. And we are in Singapore. And he's like, and I'm like, oh my God, that Shraddha Sharma trick worked. And that is crazy for us to think about it. We lost all hope. Both of us packed our bags, immediately took the next flight out from Singapore, landed in Mumbai, straight to the visa office. And this time, as opposed to the last time, this time it was like, yes, please come in, ye wo, visa, haan, theek hai, done, accepted. Within, like, landed in India, within an hour, we had our visa accepted. Everything was done. Like, this is crazy to think about.
भाई साहब, मतलब आई थिंक आपने ये स्टोरी मुझे लास्ट टाइम जब बताई थी इतने डिटेल में नहीं बताई थी, बट दिस इज क्रेजी यार, टू आई थिंक टू मच इन्फॉर्मेशन एंड बट YC इन जनरल आई थिंक एक एक करके पिक करते हैं. आई थिंक वन थिंग विच रियली फाउंड इंटरेस्टिंग इज कि मुझे नहीं पता है सब मेट्रिक्स अपने बिजनेस के बारे में, लाइक जस्ट बीइंग ब्रूटली ऑनेस्ट. हाउ जैसे हमने जो आउट जब बिल्ड करा है सर्विस कंपनी, तो बस देते रहे वो ग्रोथ होती जा रही है. वी नेवर sat down to be like, अच्छा हमारा ये क्या है, like we figured out our what, why and how,
right,
but not in that much detail कि मुझे एकदम पता है numbers कि oh this is the current industry metric, because I don't think for us at the scale it mattered, but the more and more I think about it, I feel every business should do this.
Right.
तो क्या ये जो questions होते हैं same रहते हैं, change होते हैं?
As in, you mean in the interview?
No, interview questions, correct.
Interview questions. I mean, I think obviously it changes, and I'm sure कि वो तो भी depending on how the conversation goes, about the type of business, and I'm sure every business will have their own set of questions which are necessary. Say,
Correct.
Assuming, let's say if you were to apply, I think service-based industry के बारे में फिर पूछा जाएगा कि तुम्हारी इंडस्ट्री में किस तरीके से चलती है चीज़ें. How would you? I think a question for you might be कि how would you think that this can possibly scale to say $100 million revenue company अगर पहुंचाना है तो कैसे पहुंचेगा? Service based company में obviously there is a rate limitation on the number of people. So then how would you solve that? I think that conversation would be different. For us as a fintech company, our conversation was much more around monetization. कैसे करोगे तुम? There's a lot of cutthroat competition. How will you sort of separate yourself? Say if it was a space tech company applying to YC, their conversation would have been कि यार टेक कैसे बनाओगे?
टेक कैसे बनाओगे?
बाकी सब तो ठीक है, फिगर आउट हो जाएगा.
And the questions that YC asks in their form, are they the same always?
Yes, the YC form questions are consistent because the form is common for everyone. So yes, that is true. The form questions are consistent because if you think about it, the form questions majorly they're basically questions which are core to your business in general. It doesn't matter what business you are from. तुम्हें ये तो पता ही है ना कि you are making something, a service, a product or whatever for someone. So what are you making? Who are you selling to? And what are you selling? Basically these are sort of common questions irrespective of whatever business you are in. ये तो questions आएंगे ही आएंगे. So yeah.
Like I see this on Twitter a lot कि ऐसे दो communities बनी हुई हैं अभी. एक है जो college degrees को बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब they like college degrees are very important and I think we come in that community कि यार हमें college degree ने बहुत help करा है. And then there is a community जो एकदम ऐसे लड़ाई हो रखी है मतलब पूरी ट्विटर पे अगर आप देखो ना कि बैशिंग चल रही है अभी. जैसे एक और भी लड़ाई है, फंडरेज वर्सेस बूटस्ट्रैप वाली लड़ाई भी है. मैंने कल ट्वीट करा था, मैंने कहा भाई कैन वी नॉट डू दिस? मतलब कैन वी नॉट फाइट दिस बिकॉज बिल्डिंग एनी काइंड ऑफ कंपनी इज वेरी हार्ड. तुम एवरीबडी हैज डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स. आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड आपका क्या टेक है इस पे कि कॉलेज जाना चाहिए, डिग्रीज इंपॉर्टेंट है, ड्रॉप आउट मतलब खाना, वेयर डू यू स्टैंड ऑन दिस?
Very interesting conversation. I'll start off by saying that I have both opposite views on the same table. Basically, my co-founder Gaurav, he is a dropout basically, and I am a graduate from BITS Pilani. So we have like two complete opposite point of views on the same table, and so I think I have a great ringside view of this debate. I think a lot of this debate is just made up and doesn't really matter. The crux of the answer lies to you break down what the college provides for you, like what elements it provides for you, and if you are able to compensate for those things outside of the college, and if it makes sense for you, then you should go ahead and drop out. Sure, why not?
Correct.
But if it doesn't fulfill, those elements don't fulfill, then you should stay in the college. So for example, why to go to college? Couple of reasons. First is obviously education. जो अभी सबको पता है कि YouTube, basically everyone sort of everyone gets the education from YouTube anyway. So YouTube is
क्या बोला था आपने? श्री YouTube University.
श्री YouTube University basically. ठीक है, it's like that I was saying that Sharda University वाला tagline कि the world is here, the world is on YouTube.
You can learn anything and everything on YouTube and other not just YouTube, any like internet. मतलब
in general, yeah,
in a very very बहुत सस्ते में या तो या फिर मतलब easily accessible है now technology.
Exactly. So education you are getting from that. So what the other thing then, which is your networking, your interpersonal things. And if you are able to create a network, if you have access to a network somewhere, say for example if you are active on tech Twitter, and if you already have that kind of a network, तो सही है, मतलब you don't really require
a college degree.
Technically speaking, you've checked off the boxes, and if that is the case, तो ठीक है, if that makes sense for you, then you should go ahead and drop out. And the another interesting point, which is where we stopped, which is that I saw this couple of very interesting tweets, and one of the tweet was that what people don't really realize is that a lot of 20-year-olds want to go to college because it's a great place to start dating. They want to get laid. They really do, and इसलिए college जा रहे हैं भाई. मतलब it's हाँ ठीक है, hustle, ये सब productivity ये सब हो जाएगा drop out करके हम ये करेंगे वो करेंगे. Yes, I know, I understand. But a lot of 19-20-year-olds want to go for that. Like basically meet people in parties, go hang out, chill at college, potentially find a good mate basically, and you know, who knows, there's a start of something beautiful. So that thing is what is
मेट सुन के नेशनल ज्योग्राफिक आता है मुझे
मेरे को वही लगा,
मतलब
पता है,
तो मेट यार दो जानवर ऐसे साथ बाजी करता हूँ
वो जब मैंने बोला तो मेरे को रियलाइज हो गया, अच्छा लाइक नेशनल ज्योग्राफी, अच्छा अब ये
अभी एक मादा
सीजन है, नर और मादा
यार क्या समर वेकेशन क्या आती है मुझे, बिकॉज आई यूज्ड टू वॉच लाइक दैट सो
और मादा आई तो
but
that
either way मतलब this is important because for me a big chunk of college life was दोस्त बकचोदी chill
exactly
and मैं बिल्कुल मजाक नहीं करूँगा बट a good part of why I like to work hard a lot is मुझे लगता है अरे अच्छा खासा फन तो कर चुका हूँ मैं लाइफ में, ऐसे मुझे फोमो नहीं है कि मैंने फन नहीं करा एंड आई डू थिंक कि जैसे अभी ना मैं ट्विटर लिंक्डइन पे ना काफ़ी बार पोस्ट करता हूँ कि हाउ डू यू अनलॉक अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ इन कॉलेज बिकॉज आई वॉज फ्रीलांसिंग थ्रू आउट द कॉलेज लाइफ. सो मैंने ना तब तो नहीं पता था मैं क्या ठीक कर रहा हूँ बट नाउ आई नो फॉर अ फैक्ट कि 10 चीज़ें करती हूँ उसमें 3 चीज़ें रियली वर्क फॉर मी. So freelancing is a big part of my life and it always was. But at the end of the thread, I always very clearly write, भाई सुनो कॉलेज है मतलब पैसा कमा लो अपनी फीस खुद भर लो, yes fine great but अबे आराम से यार मतलब चिल भी कर लो थोड़ा
यार. वही मतलब बकचोदी is so important and यार मेरे लिए तो एटलीस्ट स्पेशली हैविंग फन बकचोदी करना, मैं बहुत मस्तीखोर इंसान मेरे को मस्ती करने को चाहिए. और कॉलेज में जो प्लेग्राउंड था टू जस्ट let your wild side be or let your crazy and creative side be is so interesting man. Where do you get such a kind of a protective environment जहाँ पे तुम्हें जो बकचोदी करनी है करो. And I understand it's मतलब people have this point of view also कि अच्छा but fees कितनी expensive है for against that etc. I understand. I'm not saying कि सबके लिए है या सबके लिए नहीं है. That's not my view to be. But my point is कि if you can and if you're part of a good college, I mean, I would at least not drop out. This is not my because मेरे को करने का है वो. I really want that 2 years to have fun, make friends for life, dude. Make friends for life, network, just go crazy, have fun, try random things without the pressure of productivity or hustle culture. When you drop out, there is also an inherent pressure on yourself, right?
कि अब तो करना ही है.
अब तो करना है because you have now dropped out. And I understand we are coming from a place of privilege. ये बोलना बहुत आसान है कि अच्छा ठीक है हम कॉलेज है जा रहे तो ठीक है, but if you are in that position of privilege, I wouldn't let it go. Like,
so summary of this is if you are an average kid, you know, I'm not talking about the people जो उनका already बहुत बड़ा social circle है या फिर already they can network. I'm talking about people like I can talk about myself. Like I didn't have that distribution or that social circle. For me, I was an average kid who was in a good college. If you can afford it, right? If you know for a fact कि यार ये loan तो मैं चुका दूंगा easily. College is a great bubble.
100%.
It's a great cushioned bubble. आराम से तुम मस्ती भी करो, एक्सपेरिमेंट सीखो भी. Of course, बिल्कुल मतलब सिर्फ मस्ती नहीं, but definitely it helps a lot. Yes, of course, if you think कि नहीं यार ये तो ROI तो बहुत ही खराब है मेरे लिए, then drop out.
Yeah.
But what sort of tricks me is that आपने एक मुझे legal जो बात बताई थी.
Yes.
That is very.
I was coming to that. So for people who don't know, basically यार एक another inherent reason of not dropping out, which a lot of people don't consider, is that for life there's a legal problem. I don't mean so much as a problem, but it's a headache because let's assume that you need to file for some regulation. We are a fintech startup and we need to file for a lot of regulations. And the interesting thing is that a lot of regulations in India require 2 directors of a company, and it's myself and my co-founder Gaurav. Now, Gaurav is a brilliant person, but since he had dropped out, there is no official college degree, and because there is no college degree, there is so much like trouble in sort of filing for a regulation because then they are like, all right, one director has a degree but the other director doesn't. You need to file for some qualification or you need to get somebody else who has the required qualification, and by qualification they need at least 1 degree.
Correct.
But अब वो नहीं है तो उसमें बहुत प्रॉब्लम होता है. Things slow down a lot. इतना ज़्यादा एक्स्ट्रा पेपर वर्क करना पड़ता है for these reasons, etc. I have seen the same thing for visas also. A lot of visas for a lot of countries require you to have a degree. Your visa process is a lot smoother if you do. If you don't have that, you need to have that so much added explanation to do, added paperwork, added headache, etc. And there are various other places where you require a degree just even for regulatory and legal purposes.
नेसेसरी इविल बन गया है, मतलब अभी वो इवन तो पसंद नहीं है किसी को, बट
it's true. अब ये those are the rules of the world. We didn't make it, but then
एक बार ऐसे दिखाना, एक बार
अरे यार ये तो
मैं ना पिछले ये मैं जब ग्लेंस में भी थी ना, मैं तब भी नोटिस करता, मैंने कहा ये क्या है, ये मतलब ये नसें बाहर आ रही है जो यार
ये मतलब ये जो पहले तो मैं करा ना when you asked me first before this thing, I really thought कि कुछ गलत है, कि something happened on my hand क्या
तो यार I'll tell you इसका ना थोड़ा बैक स्टोरी बताता हूँ. जब मैं तो रोहतक में मतलब पैदे बकचोद होते हैं वहाँ पे, मतलब वो शहरी बकचोद लोगों का शहर है वो. तो वहाँ पे I remember this very weird guy. He used to do this in front of girls to impress them. See, I have नसें on my नसें निकल के आ रही है, और मैं देखता था अपना, मेरे में तो है नहीं यार shit, and then three of us used to feel like अरे भाई यार तो बंदी मिल नहीं सकती लाइफ में कभी, क्योंकि नसें नहीं आ रही
भाई.
ये क्या is this
ये
gym या फिर ये
मैं ऐसे ही करके अभी देखा तो अभी तूने वो एक्स का डिओड्रेंट आता है ना उसके जैसा, अभी मैं ऐसे करूंगा ऐसे 5 बंदी आ जाएगी.
Tinder first photo is
this
हाथ का फोटो this. But no, is this gym और ये क्या है?
Yeah, I think this is just workout only. मतलब working out से, I mean also to be honest, I also think this is a lot to do with genetic makeup of your body. क्या चाहती क्या?
पैदा ही hot हो, मतलब मैं
अरे यार
पैदा ही में बंदियां बढ़ाने के लिए बात है.
नहीं ये नहीं, but basically I'm guessing कि वैसा, but हाँ this starts popping out because of like I think workouts and all that.
एंड मतलब क्या ये जैसे आई सीन यू वर्कआउट, और मैं देखता हूँ रथिन ट्विटर पे बाकी फाउंडर की बची पड़ी है, बाकी फाउंडर मोटिवेशनल कोट्स डाल रहे हैं, रथिन इज डांसिंग ऑन अ ट्यून. हैव यू क्रैक्ड द वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस, और मैं मुझे जानना है ये क्या सीन है ये.
Absolutely not. Let me clarify कि वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस मैंने बिल्कुल भी क्रैक नहीं करा है. और यार मतलब मेरे को लगता है कि ट्विटर पे वैसे ही बहुत ज्ञान है, मैं और यार ज्ञान ऐड करके क्या ही करूँगा, थोड़ा नाच लेते तो मजा ही आ जाएगा किसी को. तो
fair.
Yeah, I mean, again, nothing to do with work-life balance, to be honest, but I feel that, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think it's just too much. Everyone's like, okay, hustle culture, yes, yeah, productivity. But my point is, I understand all of those things because I would consider myself a fairly ambitious person. I'm a very ambitious person. But I do believe that ambition and bakchodi can go hand in hand. And you should do things to like, that feed your soul, so to speak, in a poetic language. But basically कि यार जो तुम्हें मजा आ रहा है वो चीज़ तो करो ना यार. मेरे को मजा आता है, like working out is a good source of sort of venting out, plus also a great way to sort of stay fit, etc. I love, like, I have a few things which I really like. I like comedy, I like music, I like dancing, etc. तो basically तो वही है कि मतलब it's interesting to sort of pursue those things. So no, work-life balance crack नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन at the same time, I feel like there should be enjoyment, there should be fun. Probably work बकचोदी balance शायद figure out हो गया है. तो that's a better way to put it. Yeah.
यार ये बहुत ही interesting है, मतलब work बकचोदी ना, I think I'm a fairly approachable founder. But if you consider the definition of a founder, he is this straight-faced guy, doesn't talk a lot, only gives you targets, goals. Then sometimes motivates you, then goes back to his den, whatever. Matlab, people are afraid of this guy. There's an inherent fear of boss employee जो होता था हमारे हम जैसे we treat like a team, but it used to be a fair like bit hierarchy. Do you think to be a leader you have to be a dick, or can you be like soft and approachable?
I think to be a leader you have to stay true to what you are and just don't be somebody else. That's the biggest thing. There are great leaders who are dicks. There are great leaders who are approachable. There are great leaders who are not approachable as well. There are also great leaders who are super empathetic, etc. Leadership and these other qualities, I think there's a common confusion that you have to be a personality type. You need to be a A-type personality to become a leader, or a B-type personality to be a leader. No. Being a leader is basically a separate note, and being a person is a separate note. Don't mix the two. Be the person that you are, and you can be a leader in that particular quality. I am not the kind of person who can be like I'm the kind of person where I'll let you have your freedom. I'll define the sort of in eventual sort of roadmap define कर दिया कि हमें ये करना है या फिर goal achieve करना है तो हमें ये करना है. I'll share the vision with you. I'll try to sell you the vision. Once you're on board, then the responsibility is yours. and we both are partners in this assignment. And then post that, it's and since you are the one say doing it or executing it, you are the one who has the lead on it.
Correct.
And you
autonomy.
you have the autonomy on it. And yes, you take my opinions, but then it's basically your area, your game. That's my kind of leadership style. It sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't work also. Sometimes you really need an ironclad hand because people don't have the full perspective. Sometimes people need to be told, sometimes they need to be led by hand, etc. So depends on the situation also. But no, absolutely no, I don't think so. You just need to be a dick to be a good leader. Nothing of that sort.
And with this leadership, like Spenny is now a big company. I know we are still at the early stages of what it is going to be, but how much money have you raised till now? What was the process of? मुझे जानना है थोड़ा सा कि कैसे उठाते हैं मार्केट से पैसा, मतलब पहले कितना पैसा उठाया अभी आपने?
So we raised around 1.1 million, little over $1 million, so close to around 8 crore rupees basically.
8 crores, and the company is valued at?
So roughly around 75 to 100, in the ballpark of 75 to 100 crores basically.
बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा, मतलब बहुत मैं अभी एनिमेशन डाल देंगे उसे पैसा ऊपर से बरस, but this is a lot of money.
Let me just say that ऐसे अगर मार्केट में न्यूज़ देखेंगे तो ऐसे पैसा ही पैसा उड़ रहा है, तो हम तो कहीं भी नहीं है वो चक्कर में.
मतलब
but हाँ,
वो तो I think fundraise is a facade. Fundraise is not a
true.
It is not कंपनी सक्सेसफुल नहीं होती पैसा उठाने से.
100%.
मतलब fundraise is not a, I don't know why people celebrate fundraise. I think it's a definitely in-house celebration बनता है कि now company has more fuel to go from A to B.
Yeah.
But I really don't think it should be celebrated as the only thing that startup magazines celebrate. Well, startup magazines today are 3 things: controversies about founders and companies, कि इस company ने कर दिया, इस company ने कर दिया, fundraise news, and that's it. Third is Shark Tank, क्या वो इस तरीके का कुछ आ गया, कुछ है ही नहीं. और nobody is talking in depth about product like bigger media houses. You know, कोई भी घुस नहीं रहा है कि hey, is this product good or not. मतलब I would love to see product comparisons, like and कर रहे हैं, deep dive करते हैं product में, but negative way में. तो कुछ खामी निकालनी होगी कि इसमें तो कंपनी में झोल चल रहा है. अभी अनअकैडमी का आपने देखा था,
I know, the whole money control article. Yeah. So okay, I get very irked by this, to be honest. I don't really agree with the fact that हाँ ठीक सिर्फ fundraise celebrate करना चाहिए. I don't agree with the fact that fundraise celebrate नहीं करना चाहिए also. Here's my take on it. यार, building companies is hard. And not that, you know that, you're building an incredibly successful company. Owl is doing crazy successfully. In like 2 years, you've grown from like, you were just mentioning, from 1 brand to like today, brands, 80 brands, 70 brands. Yeah. It's crazy to think about it. And the kind of brands, dude, it's not small, dude, I&D Money and Phone Pay and these kind of brands. So the point is the fact that building a company is anyway in itself a difficult task. You make it a slightly more enjoyable by breaking it down into smaller milestones, and whenever you achieve any milestone, celebrate it. That's my goal. Now, fundraising is one of the milestones. Achieving, say, X amount of sales, say for example, that's another milestone. Hiring, say, the right person that you always wanted, hiring that person is a milestone. Correct. Celebrate every small milestone. That's the point. And so fundraise is one of those milestones. So you should also achieve that, also celebrate that. That's my take. So you should, yes, don't focus only on fundraisers. But yeah, it's a good thing that somebody has invested money in you, somebody trusts you enough to put in that crores of rupees into you. That's a good thing. So yeah, for sure.
कैसे उठाते हैं पैसा? मतलब मुझे थोड़ा बताओ ना कि पिच डेक कैसे बनाया जाता है, एक थॉट प्रोसेस क्या रहता है. तो उस एक कमरे में आजकल तो ऑनलाइन लोग पैसे उठा रहे हैं, बट I talked to some founders who raised money when there were meetings. VC used to people were stood out all the time. VC used to reject meetings last minute because we just don't want to meet with you. But now it's become easier that way. How do you actually raise money? पैसा उठाया कैसे जाता है?
True.
मतलब for context में अपने दोस्तों से पैसा नहीं मांग पाता, मैं VC से कैसा मांगूँ पैसा, मतलब?
You know, it's always that. दोस्तों से difficult है पैसा मांगना. VC से easy है पैसा मांगना. I mean, not easy in the sense, relatively with because दोस्तों से जब पैसा मांगने तो तुम्हारा like a lot of you is involved in the sense that, you know what I mean, like it's
correct. I mean, of course.
Yeah, so coming to raising money, alright, so first need to get the basics right. Okay, why are you raising the money? Let's assume that you are clear कि अच्छा ठीक है, if I raise money, then I have say things like, I want to, my growth goal, like for example, to achieve my growth goal, I need money because I need to spend more to acquire customers etc. or that's the main goal, or you want some कुछ regulations जिसके costs pay करने, या फिर you just want to expand your team and you want to pay for the salaries etc. You have to be clear about why you are raising the money. That's once that's out of the way, here's how you should ideally approach it. And this is just a generic thing. There is no fixed playbook and every company has their own take on it. Here's how I would do it is that first create a narrative or a story. I really want to know कि यार तू fundraise करने जा रहा है, मैं तेरे कंपनी में करोड़ों रुपए इन्वेस्ट करने वाला हूँ, मेरे को एक चीज़ बता, मेरे को like show me something कि यार fuck इस ये रीज़न की वजह से मेरी कंपनी बहुत सक्सेसफुल होगी या वो रीज़न की वजह से. Build a story, build a narrative. What people need to understand is that जब fundraise करते हैं ना, think from the VC's perspective. They are going to invest in say 10 companies out of a fund, and they know that 8 are going to fail, but only 2 will succeed. But the 2 that succeed will succeed so much that they will return. They'll give a 10x returns
disproportionate
returns for all the other failures also. So what are they looking for? They aren't looking for you to be marginally successful or just be profitable, yeah, etc. They are looking for you for a disproportionate win. You have to convince them why you will win disproportionately. And to go for disproportionate wins, you need to show me a vision which is equal parts crazy, ambitious, and almost undoable, and then take a step back and then figure out how we are going to do it. That's what you're looking for. You don't want to go for the safe approach कि ठीक है देखो ये है, ये हमारा यूनिट इकोनॉमिक्स है, एकदम ये परफेक्ट मैच हो रहा है, अब तो सब कुछ सही है, तो ये तो पता है, लेकिन show me something कि oh fuck dude this, ये अगर ये कर दिया, yes the probability of success is low, but if they do this,
फट जाएगा.
That's what they're looking for. So whether you agree with this or not, that's a separate question, because I am just saying कि VC game इस तरीके से चलता है, तो you want to win the game right now, तो play the game according to the game's rules. So this is the rule. Okay, show them something. So first, build a story, build a narrative. Then communicate it in some way. In most cases, this is a deck, or a pitch deck, or a document, or something of that sort. A visual way where a person, even if you are not in the room, a person reads your doc and understands about it and gets that light bulb thing. Oh fuck, this is.
And this doc में क्या क्या होता है?
Yeah. So basic things, starting with what your current business is right now. Then you talk about your problem specifically, detail out your problem कि अच्छा ठीक है ये बड़ा problem है market में. Then you talk about the solution कि हम कैसे solve कर रहे हैं problem को. Then you talk about the market size कि देखो ऐसा है कि I understand problem solution तुम्हें समझ आ गया. I want to tell you that how big this problem is. If you excite the big वाला part is when you know कि अच्छा ठीक है हाँ this is worth looking into something.
Right.
Then you sort of convince them कि why you are the right person to do it. So you convince them over the team. That's the next logical step. The next logical step is, okay, what's the current progress? What have you done so far? What are you going to do in the future? Which is why you need the money. Okay, I'll use the money and then do this. So once you cover these 5-6 elements, these are the basics. If you iske alawa, then there are things which are dependent on your company. But these are the 5-6 things which pretty much every single pitch deck should have. If you can cover these in your pitch or pitch deck or your data room or whatever, once you convey this information, I know enough about the company to sort of trust that, all right, I think it's a great company to at least look at further, basically.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on Shark Tank and how they were raising money? 25% कंपनी बिक रही है 50 लाख में, मतलब इस टाइप की डील्स हमारे VC इकोसिस्टम में नहीं होती. हमारे में तो 0.1% is like cut throat कि नहीं भाई 7 का 7.1 नहीं मिलेगा तुम्हें. That is it. But the kind of deals are happening like in Shark Tank. What are your thoughts about the show in general? Matlab, did you watch the show?
Yeah, I did. And to be very honest, my thoughts have radically changed about Shark Tank. When I started watching Shark Tank, my thoughts were very different in the sense कि मुझे वो लग रहा था कि यार ये तो गलत representation है. This is not the right representation of how the startup. This is not how fundraising works. First of all. People are getting the wrong picture that अच्छा इस तरीके से नहीं चलती चीज़ें कि आप pitch कर रहे हो, अच्छा ये negotiations हो रही है 25% ये वो, people are like it's almost like an auction. It's almost like an auction कि अच्छा हाँ हम दोनों combine हो जाएंगे, ऐसा ये है वो है, ऐसा तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं होता है. And this is not how it works also. This is not how pitches work also. So my opinion was slightly this thing. And later I think as I was watching the show, as I was hearing about it, it was all over news. There were dinner table conversations in tier 2, tier 3 cities. मैं वापी में था उस टाइम पे, और वापी में लोग रैंडम लोग डिनर टेबल पे पूछ रहे, people are reaching out to me कि अरे तुम तो startup इसमें startup में हो, तुम लोग तो reach करो, इसमें ऐसा होता है, ये होता है, and is when I started realizing, oh damn, this actually is a great thing. Yes,
Correct.
yes, you may not agree with all parts to it. Yes, you may. It is not the way how the VC environment works. Okay, cool. So what? You're unlocking entrepreneurship and startups as a way of lifestyle to a set of people who used to watch Dance India Dance at the same time on that same channel. That's what you've done, and that's immense. That is so strong. You've suddenly, there is a grandmother sitting in a tier 3 city
And
who
now
is saying कि यार my grandchild वो तो startup कर रहा है with pride. That's what they've done. And I think that is great. It's great for the Indian ecosystem. I know there are a lot of flaws to the show, as is the thing with pretty much everything else. And they are just the first season. I'm sure it'll improve. But kudos to bringing this out as a conversation.
I agree with you. I think the reach that they have given these terminologies.
Yeah.
Like what I was very iffy about कि इतना basic चीज़ को explain करें. D2C किसको नहीं पता. And I was like, Ayush, shut up, you live in a bubble. You know,
We do.
We live in a bubble. And I'm sure there are these terms in every other profession that are very common to them and we're like, okay, what is this? Right? And then we become very like almost cocky. कि यार ये तो हमें तो पता ही है, क्यों नहीं पता.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that at some point. Somebody told us those because we had the access and the privilege to. And I think I started loving Shark Tank. I loved it even in the beginning. I just didn't like the negotiation, as you said. I didn't like the added drama. Like for me, that was. But I understand it from a media person that is required. Otherwise, people don't watch the show.
Exactly. Dude, you need to understand that who is the target audience. Okay, do you know why is it not on Netflix?
Because
you and I are not the target audience.
Correct.
It's on Sony television or whatever the channel
Sony,
is.
yeah.
Sony. It's on Sony because that is the audience that they are catering to. And
Correct.
that unka attention grab karna hai, so you need a little bit of drama, so be it.
correct and very smart. I think folks who built it for India, extremely smart bunch of media folks. They have it all planned out and immense respect for like
100%.
the people behind it.
100%. There's no question.
Perfect. So this is ये मेरा ऐसे favorite segment है काफी.
Very nice.
और मैं काफी I'm very serious about this segment usually. It's almost like a rapid fire.
Okay.
No. You won't get a lot of time to think.
Okay.
I'm gonna name a company, and you have to say one line about the company.
Oh, okay.
Your unfiltered thoughts.
Oh, okay.
ठीक है?
Okay.
And it has to come out quick.
Oh my God. Okay.
ठीक है? And we're looking for controversy here.
No pressure. Okay. No pressure. सही है.
Okay. We'll start with easy. So Spenny.
I don't have a one-liner for Spenny. Oh my God.
यार रतिन क्या कर रहे
It's just, I have too many thoughts when it comes to Spenny, dude.
But it's your company.
It's my company. It's going to be the next unicorn.
Nice. Okay, now it's going to be brutal. So first one was easy,
Really?
but now
Shit, this was the easy part,
And
shit.
you have to like do it quick, right? So you
Alright,
take a lot of
cool.
time.
Alright, cool.
So quick. Else there are repercussions which I have not
Oh
thought
my
of.
God.
But I'll think of those repercussions.
Okay, cool.
Okay, Zepto.
Great company by 19-year-olds.
It's scary how they've raised so much money.
My
I'm
God.
like, if I was 19 and somebody gave me $200 million, I don't know what. It's
Dude,
crazy.
I have massive respect for them. And they're building a great distribution network. Insane.
Insane. Okay, Mensa brands.
Fastest unicorn.
Byju's.
Slightly unethical company.
There we have the thumbnail. Cred.
Love the design.
Unacademy.
Good company. Great foray into content creators.
Okay, Ola. I think
Respect for the Indian founder.
respect for the Indian founder. Blinkit.
This got acquired by Zomato, as in got in a lot of.
Got toxin, yeah.
Yeah. Could have done better execution.
Did you agree with the immediate grow first to Blinkit rebranding?
I personally do not understand the logic of rebranding Grofers to Blinkit because Grofers was very memorable. The orange color, the name, the logo, the color, all of that was very memorable. And to rebrand it to Blinkit is I'm not really sure if that was. I mean, I'm sure that they have a better opinion of better data on why they did this, but I'm not really a big fan of it.
Paytm.
I still have faith in Vijay Shekhar Sharma.
You still have faith in him?
Vijay Shekhar Sharma.
Did you see the latest stock drop in Zomato, Paytm,
Yes,
and Nykaa?
I did. Yeah.
What are your ekdam immediate thoughts on that?
Market is correcting. It's fine. Hold it. It's for the long term. Don't worry.
And you believe in these three companies?
I definitely do believe in all of these Indian companies for sure. It's just that yes, they were overinflated, overvalued basically, and it's just coming down to sort of real valuations. But it's just starting out. I mean, I think people forget the big picture. I mean, 10 years later, this is going to be very, very different. And I still have faith in them.
Okay, Swiggy.
I love that company, love that brand. Bits and Company.
Bits and Company.
For sure.
Zomato.
Zomato, I like, well, the quality has dropped slightly recently is what I think. But in general, for some reason, my first instinct between Zomato and Swiggy is always to open Zomato. I don't know why. I love their marketing. Their marketing is probably one of the best marketing. Their social media admin is probably one of the best. There's a lot of bakchodi. We get inspired by that a lot.
Who is that one entrepreneur in the Indian ecosystem who जिसको देख के बस फट जाती है कि ये तो बहुत ही बढ़िया मतलब क्या kill कर दिया inspiring almost.
I mean, yes, of course, there's Kunal Shah. But to be honest, Zoho founder, that guy, I don't know why people don't talk about him often. He's such an humble guy, he's so down to earth. People don't really talk about him, but he's one of the game changers, to be honest. And the way he's taking about sort of opening offices in remote locations in various parts of, I think, Tamil Nadu, is it? And Tamil Nadu and Kerala, where he's opening up offices in literal villages and getting people from there to sort of and hiring them and preparing them for the new wave of technology, and that's crazy, dude. I really have massive respect for him. So for sure. And yes, I know this person is not a startup founder, but Rathin Tata, because he's Rathin Tata. I don't think
OG startup founder hai,
yeah,
OG of everything.
Oh my god, there's like ethics, business, growth, innovation, everything that you can ask for.
The Tata ka thappa trust is
incredible, bro. Incredible.
I think for all the people working in fintech, and I remember when we started talking about 2 years ago, जब हम वीडियो बना रहे थे पहला अपना, मैंने आपको बोला था कि यार रतिन मुझे नहीं पता वीडियो में क्या करना है, बट ट्रस्ट इज द की थिंग दैट वी नीड टू क्रैक हियर. लाइक एज अ व्यूअर मैंने कहा यार स्पेनी इज अ न्यू कंपनी, आई ट्रस्ट द फाउंडर्स, हाउ डू आई मेक श्योर लाइक अ पर्सन वाचिंग द वीडियो ट्रस्ट द कंपनी, एंड दैट हैज बीन द कोर एट आउट एज वेल कि भाई वी आर, अगर हमें लोगों ने ट्रस्ट कर लिया, सो वी चेंज द मिशन. वी आर नॉट अ क्रिएटिव एजेंसी एनीमोर, वी आर नॉट अ प्रोडक्शन हाउस, वी आर बिल्डिंग क्रिएटिव ट्रस्ट. That's what we tell.
Nice.
Ki boss, our mission and vision is to build creative trust, because I know for a fact we'll pivot.
Right.
I know for a fact 5 years later, things that we'll do might be obsolete, but the trust will not be. Right. We want to create so much creative trust that today Rathin, if at 2 a.m. he's thinking he has a creative problem to solve, he trusts this team to solve it.
Correct.
Because creative problems will always be subjective.
Correct.
But to solve those could be a productized objective solution.
Correct. Makes sense.
And that bridge is creative trust.
Fuck, I'm just thinking if you can, like, when you say this, it almost feels like the pitch is we are productizing trust.
That's our mission. Like, yeah. I'll send you our vision and mission document which we just wrote like 2 months ago. In that, I've not talked about like our services at all. I was like, this is what we're doing right now because we need the money, we need the product, we need the business, but at the core, it's creative trust.
Yeah.
And 3 years later, I might wake up one day and change everything.
Yeah.
But this team won't change. We'll still need the same functions. We'll still need everybody who's there in the team.
So good.
But it's just that you'll be working towards a different what. Your why will not change.
Have you this Simon Sinek?
Yeah.
Start with why.
Like I love that framework.
Yeah.
Because it has brought so much clarity into my mind कि जब अगर why clear होता है ना तो क्योंकि हर किसी को पिवट करना पड़ता है, even if it's a micro pivot. Pivoting, like even changing your strategy completely is kind of pivoting. And marketing is all about strategizing quickly and strategizing differently.
Correct. You need to iterate until you hit a point where, oh, this has worked. This clicked.
Worked.
Exactly.
And when that happens, I'm like, don't because people used to think यार हम social media post बना रहे हैं, हम एक animation बना रहे हैं, हम एक 10 सेकंड का वीडियो बना रहे हैं. No, you are not doing that. That is just part of it. What you're doing, think about the bridge that a company which is a $1 billion brand trusts you with a creative problem, and then you're solving this creative problem. So and think the bigger picture. That while जैसे फैक्ट्री में how this idea came to me is मैं फैक्ट्री में देखता था कि my father is into manufacturing different components and that leads to a bike, but he used to manufacture a very small part of it, and then that small part 1 लाख pieces manufacture होते थे एक दिन में, right? And then एक छोटा small part, दूसरा small part, and then there used to be a bike standing outside.
I think same example. I think today I saw you. You're working with literally a unicorn company right now.
Correct.
And that company right now, today on breakfast, asked you to make something. It was a small post. It wasn't really a big campaign also. But you really made sure, even while on a Sunday morning, out on a breakfast, you made sure you're coordinating with 5 different team members. I saw you on 5 different calls. And then coordinating and still delivering on it on time, before time actually. And so that is the thing. That's what you've done. It's not about the fact that you created that small post. It's the fact that this particular multi-unicorn, like a multiple $1 billion company, trusted you with the process that already even on a Sunday morning, this guy will deliver. This team will deliver. That's the thing that you've built.
And a lot of people can do it. I'm not saying people can't do it. But having that dedication की, क्योंकि ना trust break करना बहुत बड़ी चीज़ होती है. तो जब मैं team member को बोलता हूँ ना,
it's a once in a lifetime process.
And it's not like हमने गलतियाँ नहीं करी process में. I'm sure हमने बहुत अभी तो और करने भी वाले हैं. मतलब and I'm just accepted की गलती होने. But जब मैं team को बोलता हूँ ना कि boss तुम एक project नहीं खराब करोगे, तुम trust break करोगे. Then stakes higher. You think more. You work a little harder. So perspective has changed over the last 6 months for us जब से हमने direction change करी है company की. So I think I really want to end the podcast on one note. I want to ask you one question. जैसे मैं बहुत सारे सवाल पूछ रहा हूँ. If you had to ask one question, what would be that one question?
I was just thinking right now, okay, I really want to do like few questions where I ask you questions right now, because I'm sure not just me, I'm sure a lot of your audience as well, and a lot of people watching would have a lot of questions about how do you run this thing, and so I want to really ask you this, and I hope time is not a constraint here. One is that you, and I know that you do that, and so you pride yourself on the creative work that you do, your creative work and the coming up with the ideas, and I remember when we were starting to sort of collaborate, literally came up with a PowerPoint presentation with all the ideas and you pitched it. You got your team to pitch it, in fact, and that was so awesome. I want to know what's your creative process. Everyone, yes, I understand creativity is something where you get it from an inspiration, etc., etc. But when you're working with like 80 brands as you're doing right now, you have to have some process. I want to really understand what does Ayush Wadhwa do to ignite that spark of creativity or your brainstorming process basically.
Okay, so now I have a process, but that's not the same process that is being implemented right now, because when you scale to different team members, every team member has a different process, right? What we make sure is that there is still a global system that is being followed, so that Owl as a company produces coherent results. One of the things, it's a fairly large process, and this process is not divided into certain parts. We're right now writing down, okay, if you're doing client servicing, this is how client servicing is done. You may add your own flavor to it, but this is the bare minimum that needs to be done. When it comes to the creative process, I just tell the team one simple thing: what you feed is what you give. Like, मतलब जो तुम, it's an input-output system. अगर तुम खराब content consume करोगे, तो खराब content ही निकलेगा. First is understanding is nothing in life is original. Everything is borrowed, right? It is a very good book, Steal Like an Artist. It's about feeding the right things. So in my creative process, first I feed the right things to myself. I don't consume bad design. Right? And of course, bad design, good design का definition बहुत subjective है. But that's where your design style comes in.
Right.
What I do is, before starting a project, I consume a lot. And this consumption doesn't happen right before the project, it happens always. Like it'll happen today, it'll happen tomorrow, it'll happen, and for a project that's going to happen 1 month later.
Right.
So consuming the right things. You have to have some role models in the industry जिनको तुम follow करते हो, and you know everything about them. For me, I know these 20 companies in the US that I love. And I know for a fact कि वो videos, these are the companies that are making videos for companies like Apple, Google, ये सब.
Right.
I keep looking at their videos and I keep like making small notes. I call this a green book, and I have a list of these companies, and I have a list of another list of Excel sheet where I have a list of these videos. And over time, I just keep looking at them, looking at them. They feed good creativity into my mind. Right. Then when it's time to write, this input helps in that output a lot. I'll give you an example. Do you remember that Spenny idea where phones were laid out and different logos were coming in?
I remember.
I loved that frame. But that frame idea came because I looked at some 50 references on how can you arrange phones. And that's so simple. Nobody must have given attention, but there was a slight curve to it.
Right.
And it was,
it was like this.
It was like this, and it ऐसे what's that diamond type का shape form हो रहा था. I loved it. And I know for a fact subconsciously लोगों को बहुत पसंद आता है वो, but वो consciously नहीं देखते. And I landed up into that by looking at 50 different references.
Wow.
And then you combine 3-4 references together to form one.
Talk about attention to detail.
Correct. So there's a big creative process is always big, but one thing which is common in the company is input good stuff. I tell them make another Instagram account, only follow the nice pages. Scroll that. That's your work. Follow the right companies, follow the right creators, just look at their work. Just observe and look. Second step is taking notes. Third step is actually breaking things down. Because creativity can never be copied. Even if you try to, in this book, there's a very, very interesting thing. If you try to copy the same painting, you will never be able to make the same painting.
Makes sense. Makes sense,
This is a very major part of my creative process. There are more paths to it, but I think if you crack this, you've cracked the main thing.
That's crazy. Interesting. Very interesting. I think I might just copy some of these ideas. And then,
I mean, you're doing UI design, just look at 50 UI designs and borrow one thing from each.
Makes sense.
Right? I think borrowing, you shouldn't be afraid of borrowing. Copying is wrong. But inspiration is not wrong. Right? And we get inspired from things all the time. Very few people act on it.
Makes sense.
So that's a little, that's how I go about my creative process.
I think Naval says this all the time. Inspiration is temporary. Act on it whenever you get it, immediately, basically. That's super interesting.
Super.
If I were to ask you a final question, right? This is just me brain farting, so to speak.
Okay.
And I just really want to know some crazy side of you on this. Is that today, imagine, you have unlimited access to money. Unlimited access to resources or the right people that you can potentially have, like the best of the best people. Unlimited access to the market and people ready to take up whatever you're going to put out. What do you create? What do you do? It's a complete open playground. Can be product, can be service, can be something else, can be art, can be anything. But if you were to do one pretty life-changing thing, given that you have access to all resources in the world, what would you do?
Think multiple things. Can I only do one or can I do multiple?
Please feel free.
So there are 3-4 things that really excite me in life. The idea of telling stories is a big one. And I love traveling and I love cars. I would love to mix and mash all of these. So I would love to do 2 things. For the community, I really want to crack how do you create the best videos at scale? Very few people have cracked it because it's so subjective to create videos. How can you tell incredible stories objectively? Right? इतना भयंकर तरीके से रिवर्स इंजीनियर कर दो ग्रैनुलर लेवल पे कि मैं वो एज अ प्रोडक्ट वो क्रैक करूँगा. मुझे पता नहीं कैसे क्रैक करूँगा, बट अगर पैसा वो सॉल्व कर सकता होता तो शायद मैं एक स्टोरी बना के वीसी फंडिंग रेज कर रहा होता. पर मुझे नहीं पता कि पैसा प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर सकता है कि नहीं. बट दिस इज वन प्रॉब्लम दैट आई वांट टू सॉल्व. I have a product idea as well that I want to solve, which is only possible through like money, which probably I'll talk off camera. In terms of my personal life, $1 billion.
DM me for more details. Please follow @Rathin.
Good plug-in. But I think अगर personally मुझे पैसा दिया जाता ना, मैं छोड़ता यार हसल कुछ टाइम के लिए, and I would hustle in a slightly different direction. I would love to travel a lot and tell stories of people that, पता है, I'll tell you something which really inspires me. अगर मैं आपको आज एक वीडियो दिखाऊँ ना कि दुनिया कितनी पेन में है, ड्रॉट्स का दिखा दूंगा मैं आपको, फिर मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा कि देखो यार ये पढ़ नहीं पा रहे लोग, ये देखो इतनी डेथ्स हो रही हैं, you'll be shocked because we live in bubbles. And that's when I felt कि यार I want to tell more and more powerful stories to the rest of the world. That somehow really excites me. The power of making sure that there is empathy in the world, because we are becoming less and less empathetic with phones and digital ecosystem. I feel stories can make us empathetic again. Stories can make us kinder again. I have become less kind the more I'm being involved in this process of digital world mein ghuste ja rahe ho. I would love to just get out, tell powerful stories, because stories hold a true power. Stories सब कुछ बदल सकती हैं यार एक बुरा एग्जांपल लेते हैं. Hitler told a story. That story is what led to that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a narrative and a story that leads to something. Why not tell people narratives that makes us more empathetic? Today, a person born in a privileged family that leaves the water tap running for the entire day just because he wants to is because he doesn't know what's happening outside. Because he doesn't have access to that narrative and that story. That is very important. If we have the knowledge, we won't do it.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense.
So, and not just like stories like these, but good fun stories as well. Having fun. I love adventure. Would just love to jump off a cliff and just for the fuck of it. So that's what I would do with money for my personal life, and for like my professional life. Really want to crack video in my lifetime and something around content.
Pretty cool.
Super. It was so good doing this. I think better to do this in person. I think this was a very 100%. Interesting experience. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you and by the way, thank you for this brilliant setup. This is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun indeed.
Super. Thank you so much guys for watching the video. Do follow Rathin. The handles will be listed in the description, but more importantly, download Spenny. It's an incredible app. We worked with them in their early days and it was the most fun company that I've worked with till now. They're doing an incredible, they're creating wealth for you. I think that's how I describe it. I think Rathin would describe it very differently, but if you want wealth to be created, these are the folks that will create that wealth for you.
And true. That's but you couldn't have put it in a better way. If you want to get started with investing, get started with us. Get started with Spenny.
Super. I'll talk to you guys in the next podcast.